In this video, I'm going to talk about possibly the best healing build that I can come up with during the beta of New World. However, it can be adjusted to your liking. Now, in this build, we prioritize two weapons. The Life Staff, obviously, for healing, and the second weapon needs to be Ice Gauntlets. Though you can replace it for whatever you want, I do highly recommend the Ice Gauntlets. So in general, with this build, you're going to want to go 75% in focus and the other 25% in constitution. However, if you're feeling a little bit spunky, you could probably go more for focus and then constitution. The idea is to get focus all the way to 300 at an end game level, because this is a build we're talking about theoretically for end game, and more so for things like expeditions and PvE content. So Constitution is just there to help you along if you do need the extra health. But let's talk about our weapon mastery skills, right? So looking at our lifestyle build here, I don't currently have level 20, which is the maximum level of a weapon, which means you can use 20 skills all across here. So you have to pick very wisely. And for the purpose of endgame, the skills I'm going to pick are Absolved for Lifestaff's light and heavy attack no longer take mana. I'm going to take Mending Touch to basically let the heavy attack remove one debuff when you pass it through an ally. We're also going to take Revitalize underneath that. When you hit with a light attack, you'll reduce all your cooldowns by minus 5%. This is actually really damn good. I don't know why I didn't notice this in earlier builds. And then we're going to get our first ability, Sacred Ground, which I'm sure you know what this means. And we're obviously going to get the two buffs underneath that. And then we're going to go down to the right side over here and we're going to select Intensify. This one will allow our heavy attacks to give us an increase to healing by 10% for 10 seconds, and you can stack it 3 times. So 3 heavy attacks, boom, you have like 30% healing. And this is great for your heals that are done by themselves, which I'm going to be talking about as well in some of the other ideas of this video. And then we're going to go a little bit over to the left here and we're going to select Desperate Speed. So when you heal an ally with less than 50% health, the Lifestaff's ability cooldowns will be reduced by 10% so that you can end up using your abilities more often. You can only trigger this once every 5 seconds, which is fair, but it's something you're going to need for expeditions when you have one of those oh shit moments. And then the final skill that you're going to take in the healing tree over here is Sacred Protection. So while holding a life staff, you'll increase the base health of all your friendlies in your group by 10%. So it's a basic buff that everybody gets to increase their health by 10%, which is actually really cool. Now for the skills that you're going to select on the Protector side, we're going to start off with the most important one that you need to build up towards the end of your game. You might not be able to afford it right at the beginning of the game. The Orb of Protection. The main reason you want this over Divine Embrace is because Orb of Protection does something really specific when you buff it with all of these skills. So let's talk about that. So we're going to get the Orb of Protection, right? Now this shoots a light projectile that grants 15% fortitude for 20 seconds. What that means is it basically gives your team armor or like a defense, so it reduces the damage by 15%. It will also heal the ally for 10% of your weapon damage, and it will deal 146 weapon damage when it hits an enemy. So it's basically an attack, a defense, and a heal all in one, but it is aimed. You have to aim this one. If we get the Protector's Blessing that is just below that, now this is if the Orb of Protection hits an ally, they will also gain recovery for 10 seconds. This means they will heal for 7.5% of your weapon's damage every second. For 10 seconds, this is basically a 75% weapon damage heal, but of course over 10 seconds. Which is pretty cool since it's gonna heal that person over time and you don't have to worry about it. Now the next skill isn't necessarily one that we highly need, but we do need to select it if we want to select the one after it. And that is Shared Protection. This is if you successfully heal an ally with the Orb of Protection, you will also gain Fortify and Recovery yourself. Now this is only for you. So when you hit someone with this ability, you will heal yourself and you will give yourself like a defensive buff as well. So it's basically like as if you hit the Orb of Protection on yourself as well as another player. Now, what's really nice, because you have this will heal you and do everything for you, but if you go for this final skill, Aegis, now Aegis is what makes the Orb of Protection ability really, really good. Now, if you don't have this ability, this whole thing is worthless. You need Aegis, you need to spend those 4 points in here. I recommend this for like an end game kind of build. You can start the game off with Divine Embrace and go down this tree over here. It's also kind of decent for PvP, but enough about that. Let's explain how Aegis works. So when you use Aegis, when this projectile hits, and obviously this is the Orb of Protection, the skill ability, it will affect all allies within a 3-meter radius. That means if you shoot this at a boss or a friend, that are all grouped up in a small area, which in PvE content is usually all the time, you will basically grant all of them 75% recovery heals. So they're going to all heal for 75% of your weapon damage. And they're also going to gain a 15% fortify buff that kind of gives them some more defense. So it's essentially another AoE heal like Beacon and Sacred Ground, which is actually really damn cool. Moving on to the right here, we're going to go for Bend Light. So after you dodge, your heals are 20% more effective for 5 seconds. So this is basically something you should do before you shoot off heals, like maybe your Orb of Protection. So you basically do a dodge, you have that 20% for 5 seconds, do a dodge, and then boom, shoot your Orb of Protection, and then bam, it's like 20% more effective, which is pretty damn good. And if I'm not mistaken, you can, however, just dodge and be increasing your heals the entire time while you're just like dodging all over the place, using up your stamina like a weirdo kind of thing. The next ability is the Protector Strength. Now, this one is if you have a buff, you will heal for 10% more, and you will have a buff because you have the buff from Sacred Protection, which increases everybody's health by 10%, and you're also probably going to have the Recovery and Fortify buff that you get from the Orb of Protection. Now, the last passive skill that we're going to select over here that doesn't have an ability is Glowing Focus. Now, this skill allows your buffs to last 20% longer. So this, I assume, would actually work with things like Fortify and Recovery. So when you apply this Recovery and Fortify for 10 seconds, it will last 20% longer, which if I understand correctly should be 12 seconds in total, if my maths is right. I don't know about that. So essentially, it makes you heal a lot more often. And since this ability is on a 10-second cooldown, you could basically keep it active the entire time, especially since it only costs 16 mana. However, you are going to eat through your mana a lot quickly using this on like spam, which is why we have our second weapon we'll be talking about soon. So for our final ability, we're going to select Beacon. You guys should know what Beacon does at this point if you are a Lifesteal user, which is one of your best AoE heals that can attach to a friend, an enemy, or just the ground. So you're going to select that one, and you're going to select the 2 buffs below it, that the area of effect is now 50% larger, and that the beacon lasts 5 seconds longer. Now this is an ability that has a huge cooldown, so you're going to really benefit from those cooldown reducing things that you found in the healing side over here, like the ones where every time you hit with a light attack, reduce cooldowns by 5%. So you want to basically spam light attack as much as you can while you're doing Orb of Protection and Beacon, and this will actually keep you really busy as a healer and make your healing a lot more interesting and fun instead of sitting around and waiting for something to happen. And essentially at this point, you will not have any more skill points to spend out of the 20 that you have available. So all those skills that I talked about are the ones that you're going to be using. Here is a quick overview of what I selected so that you can, quickly just adjust if you are playing at endgame or you just want to save it for later use or a screenshot or something. That's pretty much what we're looking at for the life stuff. Now let's talk about the Ice Gauntlet. So I don't have a lot of experience with the Ice Gauntlet. In fact, I haven't actually really used the Ice Gauntlet at all, but apart from what I've seen and some of the skills that it has present, I basically want to talk about the build that I've added over here, basically with a focus to do some AoE damage as well as regaining mana, especially using the Entombed feature, Ice Pylon, and the Snowstorm ability. So instead of giving you a rundown of what each of these abilities do, I'm just showing you which ones I've selected for this build after looking at them. Like I said, it has a high focus on getting you some mana back, your survivability, regenerating huge amounts of mana, defense, as well as it being able to dish out some AoE frozen attacks just to kind of add extra if you're not really having a lot to heal as a healer. This is a weapon you can jump to for survival or just some damage input, and that's generally the build I've put together for the life staff with the Ice Gauntlet. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do have any recommendations, let me know in the comments below. I do also recommend using a hatchet if you are going for PvP, or even a sword and shield where you can go into a tank vibe and become a tank healer where you can half tank and half heal, which is quite an interesting combo as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for watching.